All right, so right now I'm just kind of hanging out, waiting for some people to come join us, just because that's the way it works, you know. Hey, Lenny, okay, how we doing, honey? I'm just kind of hanging out, waiting for other people to join us because they're still over to mudding for nothing, I guess it is. And once we get that one out of the way, which is about a minute away, we'll carry on from here. Hope you don't mind, but you know, like the thing says, gotta like the beer too. I'm a little thirsty right now. And Lynn, I think I made you a moderator on YouTube. Steve, I believe I had you and Paul Honeyman both listed as moderators on that one. So if you want to share links or whatever, you can. I believe. We're down to about a minute. Hopefully, we get some other people coming in. One thing that we aren't going to see tonight is Paul Honeyman. Unfortunately, he has been going through some pretty adverse health issues. He apparently got some kind of a virus, and the medication that they gave him is not working for him very well, and gave him some adverse effects. So my prayers go out to Paul Honeyman. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We should be getting some people to pop in anytime now. Actually, I had quite a few over there that said they were going to be coming in. Yeah, Lynn, I'm praying for Paul too because you know he's a great guy. Every big channel that I know, he is a moderator for it, and he does the stuff till like 4 o'clock in the morning his time, which is phenomenal. I mean, I can't imagine anybody devoting that much time just to be there for all these lives because, I mean, I chose this time for mine because it doesn't interfere with me. I like to go camping during the weekend and whatnot. Everybody was saying, well, pick Thursday or pick Saturday. And I was like, well, I'm taking Thursday. And I couldn't find anybody that was on Thursday. So I said, all right, well, 9 o'clock Thursday seems good to me. And then I found out that 9 Acre Family Farm actually does theirs at the same time. And I was like, all right, well, then I want to be like the nice guy, and I'm only going to do my live for a half an hour. And then after that half hour, I'm not going to do anymore. I actually go over theirs and enjoy their games and stuff that they play. I think that's kind of cool. I don't think that's anything I want to do on my channel, but I do appreciate them doing it. And a lot of people really enjoy getting invested in that. And that is something I don't want to step on. I want them to have their time as well. Lynn, just out of curiosity, did you see the notification come up on YouTube, or did you just know that it was going to be here because of being over there to mudding for nothing? I put it out on StreamYard that I was going to be starting at 9 o'clock, but I don't know how that shows up on YouTube because I don't get to see it on YouTube until after it's all over with. Playing on YouTube. Hey, honey, I do that all the time. I'll be honest with you. Between watching Simple Life Reclaimed, Country Road Cure, Come On Homestead, and Drifted Dreamers 5, oh my Lord, there's just so many channels. It's all greedy. I try to watch everybody's videos as they come out every single day. And if they go live, I'm trying to be there with them all the time. And again, that's another reason why I decided to pick a day that those guys weren't doing anything, which was Thursdays and Saturdays. I'm hoping Jumps comes over here because he was asking about what charcuterie boards were, and I didn't really have a topic for tonight. So I thought, well, I'll get some stuff that's been made in my wood shop, not by me, but I have a tradesman that works for me, and he does all kinds of stuff. And I actually have a couple of them right here behind me. I got a couple cutting boards, and then behind them I've got a couple charcuterie boards because he was wondering what they were. Hopefully people find us because I did change the name of the channel again. It was Dollar Seed CEO, and I decided not to have that be part of the channel because that part's not going to be here anymore. And it's now going to be Halfass Homestead. So here we are, hanging with Halfass Homestead. Last night I did get on with the Vineyard Farm, or the Vineyard Homestead, and that was a lot of fun. And we got into the subject of chickens, and we shared our stories about chickens and eggs and things like that, and that was pretty cool. And I thought for me to be able to just jump on somebody else's live like that was really cool. I would do it again because it was cool. But when it went on, one thing that bothered me was that the requirement was you have to wear a shirt. And I was like, okay, I want to go on your live, but I'm sitting up here in a pair of shorts and I don't want to put a shirt on because it was so hot out. Today, not so much. Not so much. I'm really hoping some other people jump in here with us because we've been on now for 5 minutes and I'm not seeing anybody but you. But that's all right. I don't mind. I'll talk to you all day long. Sorry about that. I think I lost my connection with the internet or with StreamYard there for a minute. I'm not real sure how that worked out. But yeah, going on with the vineyard last night, that was like really awesome. They had another person come on, and they had JD on there before I went on, and I decided that when you get the other person on there, I'm just going to step off. We got 3 people watching, but apparently we're the only 2 talking, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I just like kind of stepped back and said, you know what, guys, I'm going to let you guys keep your show going. I'm going to step back. I'm going to get out of here. Now, I don't know if mine on StreamYard actually shows a link to how, if somebody wanted to join me on this, they could. And Lynn, so please let me know because, I would have you here in a heartbeat. I would have you here in a heartbeat. Now, we got 3 people watching, and everybody that's watching, if you would, please just start, say hi or something so we know who's here. That would be really awesome. Len, I've never heard of Browser Homestead. When are they on? I got my pad right here beside me. I can make notes. I'll write it down and I'll join them. Three people watching and one person commenting. Can we get everybody at least say hi? There we go, Junk to Gems. You made it. Hey, how you doing, bud? Junk to Gems. This one's for you. This is how we're going to start this one now. Now that we have two people in the room that are speaking out and saying, you were asking about charcuterie boards. A charcuterie board can be any board that has any kind of a design and made out of any kind of wood. This one right here is made out of cherry, purple heart, and these, your cucumbers. Okay, I don't know. I'm not seeing my video right now. Okay, this is for like taking cheese and cucumbers and crackers and all that stuff, and you put it on there and you do a layout of your food to make it a charcuterie. All right, Lynn, thank you. I'll write that down. Oh, they're on when White Rock Homestead is on. Oh, no, they're not. Okay, it's two different channels. But you just lay all your food out on these boards. This one here looks like this. And because we had a lot of long boards, what we did is we made a duplicate that actually looks like this. So the two of them are exactly the same, but different. And people like things that are different. So that's our charcuterie boards. Those are made in my wood shop. I don't make them myself. I actually have a friend of mine who works for me on a daily basis. He's a tradesman and he runs my wood shop. He also does a lot of other work for me and stuff. He made those two for me. Now, one thing that's really cool is if you hold them up like this as a pair, it's almost an exact match set. Almost. One of them's a little bit different because of the way that they're cut, but it's almost an exact set match. And these were both built at the same time, cut at the same time, and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. And another thing that I've had him working on is making our cutting boards. I have to show this in the right direction. This is one of my cutting boards. This is the part that gets put in with the wood burn. And this one's made out of walnut and maple. And they're thick. I mean, you just seen that, how thick that was. These things are thick. And they have handles built into each end of them. This is one of ours. Okay. And then after that, we have another one. This one's heavier. It's a lot thicker. This one is made out of black walnut, maple, and cherry. And again, it has the handles built into the end of it on both sides. I'm not going to show both sides because this one's heavy. This is actually a very big board. And it also has our custom engraving or custom branding on it. And people wonder, well, why does Midline Shop, this one here, why does Midline Graphics do cutting boards? Well, because I have a wood shop. Before I moved to the property I'm on, I actually had a very good wood shop. And I'm going to try to get some of the videos that were made there on a different channel and bring them over to my regular channel so people can see them, because there's some good ones. There's some really good ones. I had one job that I did for a guy where I had built a wall-to-wall entertainment system. And it was awesome. He had over 295 DVD movies and almost 1,000 games for his PlayStation and everything everything based on DVDs, basically. This thing was huge. I mean, we're talking 108 inches long, floor to ceiling. custom built with an extra big shelf brought out for the TV and all the game systems underneath it and stuff. I built that for him. He fell in love with it. And after that, he contracted me to be able to go in and build him a stand-up arcade game using all those same game systems. But he had some like DVDs, I guess they were, where there were like multiple games on each DVD. He said, if you can build me a stand-up arcade system where I can drive a car, I can shoot a gun, or I can use the joystick and buttons, you're in. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I can do it. I'll tell you what, I'm a computer guy. I'm big into computers. I've got probably 14 of them here on the property right now that I run almost every day. I did not know what I put myself into on this one. I actually had to go in. He brought me the TV he wanted me to use, which was really cool because it's hard to get the ones that have the RCA jacks on them anymore. But he brought the TV he wanted me to use. I had to buy a special Phillips head screwdriver just to take the back off of that TV. And that thing was, I don't know, 18 and 20 inches long, just to be able to touch the screws to get them out of the back of this TV. And then go in and rewire so that if a headphone jack was being used, the main speaker of the TV was shut off because I had to put speakers in the front of this thing for him. That was pretty awesome. And it also had a custom-made marquee on the front. I didn't print it. I had somebody else do that for me. It said Diamond Arcade. It took me a year to build it. And he was like, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? And he kept bothering me about it for so long. I mean, this is like $2,000 job or better. And he kept asking me, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? And I kept laughing and going, no, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. So I went to I think it was like a dollar store or something, and I found this little tiny arcade that had 60 games on it or whatever for $10. And I bought it. And I took it in and I put it on his desk at work and I said, okay, your arcade's done. It was like, dude, it took me a year to build that. And I was like, yes, man, you don't understand the problem with working with electronics. You don't understand what it takes to be able to do all this fancy woodworking and stuff, man. This is hard. But what he didn't realize is when he got home from work that night, his stand-up arcade was actually sitting in his dining room where he wanted it because it was the only place it was going to go. And it was set up with the pedals on the floor. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm buffering for some reason over here. But it had the pedals on the floor that could be removed. It had the steering wheel on it with the driving game set up to play on it. And you could take the steering wheel off of the thing and set it off to the side and grab another controller and put that on it. And this thing was freaking huge. This thing was almost 40 inches wide for just a controller. There were so many buttons and so many joysticks. Two people could play the game at the same time. And like I say, it cost him about $2,000 just for the woodwork. It didn't count all the electronics. By the time I got done, I think it was a $3,500 job. But it was cool. And he was very appreciative of it. He did not see any pictures, any videos, or anything of it going into what this is going to look like when it was done. The only thing he knew was that I built it wrong, I tore it apart, and I bought new wood, and I started all over again because I've never built one. And if you go on the internet and look up stand-up arcade, you will get so many wrong directions to head in to build one. And they're never for anything like this one was. Never. This one had Sony PlayStation 1, Sony PlayStation 2, the old, what the heck is the name of the games? Very old games anyway. I mean, we're talking going back to the days of Duck Hunt, Nintendo, stuff like that. But there was like 4 or 5 different game systems that I built into the system, and every one of them had a game or just with multiple games on it, where he could just go in and hit a button and dial down and pick what game you wanted to play and just switch out the controllers for whatever you needed to be and play it. But one lawful feature that I had was I put a lock in the back of the cabinet, and I told him, you do not get the key to the lock. Because if anybody gets into the back of that cabinet, they can screw everything up that I spent so much time putting together for you. So the only person that has access to the back of that cabinet is me. If something goes wrong, you can call me, and I'll come in, and I'll troubleshoot it, and I'll fix it. But you can't go in and do it, and nobody else can go in and do it. It's a special lock. It's a special key. I mean, it's like an arcade key. You know, those things are a dime a dozen if you know where to get them. But it was an actual arcade lock that I put on it. In the front, it actually had the quarter slots, the start button, all that stuff. But you didn't pay to play. That was just a sticker that I had made to put on the front. But it looked really cool, and I mean, it was a job. And like I say, if I can go over to my woodshop channel I had before we moved to this house we're in now, I'll see if I can move that over and share some of that. I mean, this thing was tall. My landlord actually stood next to it, and he was shorter than it was, and he's about my height. I'm 5'6", so it was a big tall arcade, and it was wide, and it was awesome, and it was a lot of fun to build. I will never build another one for anybody else ever again. It was just, can I do it? Yes, I can, and yes, I will. And the time and the effort that it took to put that together, I was just like, yeah, I'm never going to do this again. Not for anybody. Could I do it again? Yeah, absolutely. I know how to do it, but would I do it? No. It was too many hours. At the time, I was working 12 hours a day, 4 days a week. And plus I owned two businesses at the time. I had the wood shop, plus I had my seed business. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Well, then after that wood shop got shut down, we moved out here. I was, hello, one day at a time, Farmstead, how you doing? So after I got moved out here, I was like, okay, I want the wood shop back. That was the main purpose. When we bought this property, it had a big 20 by 40 garage. That was the main purpose of why we did that. And it had room for my wood shop to be put back in. But the problem was the floor wasn't any good. The walls weren't insulated. It had a wood stove in there that was illegal for my property. The insurance company wouldn't give me homeowner's insurance with it in place. And so first thing I do is get rid of the wood stove, which really made me mad because I just bought a whole load of cherry wood to put into the wood stove. But I found a guy that bought the wood stove from me, and he bought the cherry wood from me, and of course he brought his own help. So it took a lot of us to put the wood stove on, but we did it. And they loaded the cherry wood onto two different trucks afterwards, and then they just removed everything that I bought to put into the garage because the floor in the garage was terrible, and I had to redo the whole floor. Again, I did not do it. I have an employee. His name is Jim. This guy's a tradesman. He's worked construction all of his life. He used to make things like this. Well, I'm sorry, wrong hand. See that guitar back there? His shop used to make guitars. So he is like really super good with working with wood, and he's really good at doing all kinds of other things. Someday I'll put up a video of some of the other work I've had him do around here. And he's good at putting down flooring. He didn't do this room. I did this room. But in our seed house, when that was delivered, actually, I had the seed house delivered, and I went out there with another coworker, and I hired him to come out here every morning with me for about 2 hours while we could and work just to try to get insulation up. Once it was fully insulated, then I went in and I did the wiring, and then I brought him back again to help with getting some of the sheetrock in, but that wasn't a good deal for me because I can do sheetrock. So I went out and I bought a sheetrock jack. I didn't sheetrock myself. He started some of it with me just because I asked him to, but he wasn't good at it. And I'm the kind of guy, if you're not good at doing what you're doing, then don't do it. And so I let him go after that part and just said, sorry, Mark, but I can't bring you back for this one anymore. And lo and behold, once I got this thing all sheetrock and finished on the inside, painted and ready to go, he came to work for me. And the first thing he said when he walked into that building is, when are we going to do the floor? And I was like, what do you mean we? And he's like, I've done this stuff all my life. And I'm like, good. I've only done it for a couple of years, and you're good at what you're doing, from what I've been told. So I'm going to let you go ahead, and I'll watch you and see what you do. He wasn't only good at it, he had all of his own tools. He brought in everything he needed to put the floor in, and he worked for 2 days. He said, we can do this in about 3 hours. I was like, no, we aren't. It's not going to happen in 3 hours. It's a 14 by 34 building, but it isn't going to happen in 3 hours. If it was the flooring like I put up here in this room right here, then yeah, I could have done it myself in 3 hours, but the flooring wasn't the same. It's a lot thicker. It's called a lock together. It's not a click together. You actually have to beat on it to get it to do the actual lock. And it was frustrating to the point where he actually, at the end of the first day, he broke one of the tools that he brought that was used for it, and had to reach out to his son to borrow one to finish that floor. So that was really cool. Once that floor was done, he's like, all right, what's next? Well, hey, I got this big wall that's like 12 feet long, 4 feet high, or no, 12 feet long, no, 16 feet long, 4 feet high with pegboard that needs to be put up. And I want it set at the minimum of this height up, and it's got to have framing behind it so the peg hooks can go into the board. And he went in and he did that. And then he come back to me and says, all right, what's next? And I said, well, I got a pile of wood right here. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, we got to build a shelf that goes all the way across the 14-foot back. So I got a place to set my seed bins. I want that at this height, and it's got to be this wide. And he worked on that for about a day and a half, I think. He got that in, and then he's like, all right, what's next? And I was like, I want an island. It's got to be 3 feet wide and 6 feet long, and I wanted it countertop height. And he's like, all right. So he went back in and he worked on that for a couple of days, and he got all that done. No, Junction Gems, I'm not an electronics whiz, but I did go to school for it. And also I had a really good friend growing up that taught me some really, really interesting things that you need to pay attention to. One of them was don't touch a capacitor that's inside of an old style TV, because that thing will send you through the wall. And trust me, I did it. It's true. You're talking 20,000 volts in these capacitors. So, you know, I learned the hard way on some of this stuff. But no, I went to school for it. I did electronics. I did computer school. I did burglar alarm systems. I actually owned a burglar alarm system company for a while, where we went in and installed them and set up our own monitoring for a while. And then we were bought out by a bigger company. I owned a computer company for a long time, and I finally ended up shutting that down because I moved out the property I was on and didn't have any other place I wanted to put it. And I had somebody that wanted to buy it, so that happened to work out really well for me. No, I'm not an electronic person. Anyway, so I had Jimmy build this island, and he got done with that, and he said, all right, what's next? And I said, well, now we go into the house, and we started dragging stuff out. And that day, I brought all my employees in. It was during COVID, right at the beginning. It was 2021, right at the beginning of COVID. It was like January. I got all my employees here working side by side, and the whole thing was take everything out of my house, get it out into this building, and put this together. This is how I want it to be when it's done. And it worked out. I mean, and all the time that I was working on it, Jimmy's going, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Okay, go ahead. I don't care. If I can afford to do it, we're doing it. I don't care. And there's not too many times. I mean, as you can see by all the stuff behind me right here, this is minimal compared to what I actually own. If I can afford it, do it. And there's not too many things I can't afford right now. But my thing is that I don't want to waste money. But if you make sense to me about what you want to do, I'm going to let you go ahead and do it. Right now, the reason why this room looks the way it does is because I'll see if I can give you a little bit of a glimpse. It's going to be a dark hallway. Yeah, it's a dark hallway. Let me go turn the light on real quick. I'll see if I can lighten this up. All right, that's better. I got a light on out there now. One of the projects we're working on is that hallway right there behind me. That was all plaster and lath walls. Believe it or not, the outside wall has some blown in insulation in it, but below that there's a roof, and under that roof there's a ceiling. Well, where that roof sits, going down to the ceiling, and I'm buffering again. Where that roof sits and where it goes down to the ceiling, it's an area about 2 foot, 2.5 foot tall. There's no insulation in that. When we opened that wall up going across, we found an area where there was a big hole behind the sheetrock. And the only reason why I did it was because the walls were crooked to start with. And I was like, yeah, we got to make them straight. But we found a hole in the wall. So they took the sheetrock off, found the hole. And I was like, oh, man, every day the sun's out, I got sun shining through, or heat blowing through this area. I don't know if you guys can hear me every time this thing buffers. I don't know why it's buffering. But yeah, there was so much heat blowing through. I mean, even on like a 55-degree day outside, if the sun was shining, I was getting 100 degrees blowing through this hole that was in the wall. So I told him, I said, Jim, I said, we got to get behind that wall, rip all that plaster and lath off that we can, get behind that wall, insulate it, and then we got to build it back out to the thickness of the lath, so we can't throw the lath away. We're going to put it right back on again. And then we're going to re-sheetrock that wall afterwards. That way we have insulation there. And I mean, when I first bought this house, that was my main thing. I sat here for a long time. I'll show you another thing I sat here for a long time for. You see that ceiling up there? How straight with that door? When I bought this house, I was sitting in my office, which is where I'm at right now. My desk was in a different position, and I was always looking down that hallway, and that door was crooked. I mean, I don't know why these guys thought this was good. We bought this house from people that actually made it an illegal duplex. You're allowed to have single-family residence only in this property with agriculture because it's farm country. And where I'm at right now, at one time, was an actual upper kitchen. And then where my print shop was the living room, my music room is, and my storage area. That was actually the bedroom. And then across the hall from both of those is a bathroom. And when I bought the house, the bathroom floor was crooked. I mean, really crooked, like the width of a 2x4 crooked from point A to point B. It was a 2.5 or a 3.5 inch drop in that floor that they never cared for. It didn't matter. They had a really nice shower in there. That was one of the selling points of the house, and it wasn't there when we bought it. And thankfully, that was good because I got to see the actual floor. They had some really bad issues going on there. So I redid the bathroom. That took me, I think, the first year we lived here. I spent most of my time in the outdoor bathroom. And then after that, sorry guys. One day at a time, farmstead. I agree. It is time for all of us to go over and visit 9 Acre Family Farm. It is 9:31 now. Sorry, we got to a half hour. I didn't think I'd be able to fill in a half hour talking, but I sure the heck did. So I'll go over and help out Dale and Lisa over 9 Acre Family Farm and play some of the games if you want to. They actually have a pretty fun time. Later, everybody. Y'all have a good time. Thanks for joining.